Welcome back to another hour of Scotch Hour. I'm Noah.
And I'm Jesse.
I believe this is episode 105.
105. 105.
Nice. 105. Okay, well, this evening, I think we have a pretty good lineup here. Before we do jump into that, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel if you like our content. Leave any comments down below. We would greatly appreciate that as well. And thank you to all of our new subscribers. We've had a few new subscribers on YouTube and some on in our audio platforms as well. So thank you very much. We greatly appreciate that. And for this evening, we do have the Ardbeg 19yr. Traigh. Nailed it. I don't know if I did. Traigh. Anyways, it's another Ardbeg here. So looking forward to it. The smoky pineapple sounds like it's an interesting flavor. They'll come through on that, hopefully. With that, from there, we'll have our shout outs and get it togethers. And then we went to kind of keep in the theme of Creed in essence, maybe more of like the essence of Rocky. But we did go to Pete's Philly Cheesesteaks for dinner, and that will be our restaurant review. And then our Smarter Challenge is going to be the movie review of Creed 3.
Scotch Reviewed.
All right. Well, this evening's Scotch is undoubtedly going to be delectable. This is the Ardbeg 2019 19-year-old Scotch. So this is their TB/01. And with this, we've got some interesting facts and fun with this Scotch. So a couple of the basics as you guys may or may not already know, the first edition of Traigh Bhan dropped in 2019, and a lot of people were instant fans. We're about to try it for the first time, and I am super excited about that. It's a 19-year-old Islay single malt Scotch. It's the oldest Ardbeg addition to the distillery's permanent lineup. Now Traigh Bhan has settled into annual batch status, so they've got a 20 and a 21, which Ardbeg is describing as rare and ever-changing, with slight changes to cask selection with each release. So with that, I think they're doing a little bit of the Macallan style, where they're taking something great and having fun with it each and every year. This Scotch is matured in American oak and Oloroso sherry casks, 19 years, and is considered the epitome of aged Ardbeg. Part of a highly sought after and collectible series. With this, it's all based on or inspired by Islay's Traigh Bhan Beach. So, man, I am ready for some beach weather, by the way. Colorado has been cold, not necessarily terrible, but very cold. It is masterfully impossible to understand just how great this well-balanced Scotch is about to taste in and on our mouths and palates. It's a whiskey resigned to the furthest reaches of the Ardbeg warehouse. So with this, in 2021, when the world was locked down, Ardbeg still went to the far end of their warehouse and made a 2021 year for the release of the Ardbeg 19 Traigh Bhan. We're visiting this one as we start our third year on Scotch Hour. And 2 years ago, we had our first Scotch for Scotch Hour, the Ardbeg 10. So it was very fitting that the Ardbeg 19 Traigh Bhan kicked off our third year of Scotch Hour.
Starting off the very original with Ardbeg, and now our third year with Ardbeg. I think we'd have to go back and take a look at what we did for the beginning of our second year. I don't remember, but this is kind of exciting to go hit up Ardbeg again for the beginning of our third year. Anything else you want to say about that one?
No, I'm just ready to get Start it.
Okay. Well, I guess we should probably just revisit the history real quick again. Ardbeg was founded in 1815 by John McDougall. He took out a license as a legitimate distillery. Way back then, there was like a little bit of an issue about some people wanting to be legitimate or not.
Bootlegging.
Then in 1838, it was sold to a new owner, Thomas Buchanan, for approximately $2,163 back then. So approximately in today's money, that'd be about $65,000. And Alex McDougall, the son of John McDougall, ran the day-to-day operations, and he died in 1853. And then it was co-ran by Colin Hay and the McDougall sisters of Margaret and Flora, making them the first female, proprietor. Well, I'm not sure if they were really the proprietors, but people who ran a Scotch distillery. 1887, they put out 1.1 million liters, which is equivalent to 250,000 gallons. 1911, that's when Ardbeg finally became trademarked. And then in 1922, Alexander McDougall and Co. buys Ardbeg for 19,000 Great British pounds, which was about 22,800 USD back in 1922, which is the equivalent of $569,000 today. Could you imagine buying a big time like Scotch distillery for like $500,000 today? That'd be a damn
Today,
steal.
no, but
It'd be a steal, wouldn't it?
it absolutely would when you consider their output.
Yeah. And then 1977, Hiram Walker acquired Ardbeg, and then they allowed it to close down in 1981. So, and it actually kind of devastated that local economy. Then in 1987, Allied Leon or Allied Lions, I'm not sure, probably nailed it, got that wrong. They acquired Ardbeg from Hiram Walker, and then in 1989, it started producing 2 years later small batch scotches, and then in 1991 it closed down again. And then one of our favorite distilleries, since we've tried so many of them, Glenmorangie purchased them in 1997, and then they started full production with Ardbeg. And then in 1998, Ardbeg was voted the best distillery of the year. And I guess from there, the rest is kind of history. I mean, they've been making like great bottles and expanding, and so it's kind of good to see that. They do have like 3 main tours. They got the tour and we taste, which is approximately $14.50. It's an informative and fun tour of the distillery with a dram of your choice from the core range at the end. Then we got the Dram Good Time, which is approximately $78, and it lasts about 1.5 hours, so 1.5 hours. During this fun tasting, you'll sample 5 Ardbegs, young and old, and you'll discover the whiskey creation process behind the dram, from the new make, spirit, to cask samples to hard-to-find Ardbegs. Your knowledgeable guide will inform and amuse you while revealing the stories in each glass. And then we got the core range tour and tasting, which is about $30 USD or $30. And that's also 1.5 or 1.5 hour tour. And here it's a detailed tour of the distillery followed by a tasting of 5 different drams of their core range. So you're talking about the 5-year Wee Beastie, the Ardbeg 10, Ardbeg Anoa, Ardbeg Ugadal, and I believe the Ardbeg Corryvreckan. And then they also have something called the Rocktails, basically for like $6, and it's just like going there for a cocktail. Any case, if you're gonna go do a tour, I probably would go with the Dram Good Time.
Hour and a half, 90 minutes, 5,400 seconds. Well worth every one of those seconds for sure.
And you get to choose which ones you want to try. So that's the best part.
Top shelf.
Because I know definitely Ugadal would be one of mine.
Oh, yes, for sure. Especially comparing them neck and neck next to each other.
Neck and neck.
Neck and neck. With that, one of the things I really do appreciate about this box, and with some of Ardbeg, when we think about a little bit about their history, and not that we have enjoyed all of their scotches, they have been on the top 10 of our lists, I'm sure, and they have also been on the bottom 10. But with that, they have done an amazing job with this box, and then also with just taking a moment and really spelling or saying a few things that are very emotionally involved here, or artistic, if you will. So on the back of the box, it says Traigh Bhan. From the Ardbeg distillery to Port Ellen and beyond, follow the rocky coast and you will discover the heavenly vista of Traigh Bhan, the beautiful beach known locally as the Singing Sands. For this captivating place has white, soft sands that sing beneath your feet, a hum that ebbs and flows with the winds and the tides. But beguiling as the place is, do not drop your guard. Bathing it ill-advised in the seemingly tame crystal waters where jagged volcanic rocks pierce the sands along the shore. So it sounds like you're great on the shore. The second you step into that water, you're going to be cut.
Your feet are fucked.
Done, son. Old Nessie's going to get you now.
No cake by the ocean here.
Yeah. Oh, man. Always want some cake by the ocean.
Not this place, though. It doesn't sound like.
No. Although the white soft sands sound amazing. Maybe that's protective. Maybe that's how you don't have to worry about the Loch Ness monster coming up, because even the Loch Ness would get cut up by the volcanic
I was saying that cake
rock.
would be a one and done.
Yeah. What happened to him? I don't know. I think he had some cake by the ocean. Great song, by the way.
It is, isn't it?
It is. All right. Well, without further ado, let's break into this Ardbeg. As we've already mentioned, this is a delightful box. It is stark. It is contrasting, the white, the black, the gold. There is texture all along, and within is the bottle, 2019 Traigh Bhan. And here's something that's very interesting to me. They stay very true, no matter how impressive the Scotch is itself, or may not be, to their bottle shape and style. It is a very attractive bottle. I do actually really enjoy the addition of the batch number on the bottom, good coloring with this green, and man, just holding it, I feel like I'm standing on those white sands holding an ice cold glass of something delicious to drink.
You know, I think anytime you have a special release of some sort, I think it's kind of good that they do put like the batch numbers, which was kind of disappointing last week.
It really was. The Lagavulin Distillers 2022 not having that, where in previous years it did. It was exciting. Like, which batch did you get? I don't know. Let's go take a peek.
Yeah, and so I think it's great that they actually showed like which batch that it is on there.
All right, 46.2 alcohol by volume. We have mentioned here that Ardbeg is nestled along the coast of Islay, the island of Islay, just down the way from Lagavulin, also right by Laphroaig.
I'm sitting there wondering if it's going to be a plastic top.
Dude, yeah. Well, at least it's got some texture, but it is a plastic top.
I mean, that once again, you're saying how they hold true to their style. That is kind of like they use the plastic top with the real cork. So
when you were speaking of the history, I actually truly appreciate some of the things they've done that others have not. So they have gone through and they have done a version we enjoyed, the Taste Buds Punked Churd. So with that, the Ardbeg Ardcore, that was an interesting Scotch. It was a little different, but I think that it's nice to me. I think that it's wonderful that they're trying new things, new flavors, and adapting, having female managers. A lot of distilleries now, in Scotland in particular, Scotch distilleries though have female managers, and it is a brave new world.
The one thing I noticed about the Ardbeg Hardcore is like their label actually didn't follow, if I remember correctly, it didn't follow the traditional label like they have on most of theirs.
Right, and it was a one-off, but the bottle still held pretty true.
Yeah, it did.
All right, well, we're going to see what we can see here. True to their taste, solid oak cork, not pressed. Pretty good color.
It is.
Ooh.
All right, I guess it's time for our warp speed.
Cheers.
Ardbeg Traigh, or Traigh, I like to say. Obviously, I butcher it, but
it should be Traigh.
I think it should be Traigh, but Traigh. I am super impressed with this Ardbeg. It's not like some of the other Ardbegs, and the only I think this might even be better than the one I like the most, which is the other ones we tried, which is the Ardbeg Uigeadail. I think I like this one more than the Uigeadail. It is an excellent bottle. What I would say is, have you ever imagined having like the kind of like grilled pineapple that you get at Rodizio or at Rodizio, and then dipping it into like the like a chocolate fondue and eating it? That's what this is, dude. This is basically a spicy grilled pineapple dipped in chocolate fondue scotch.
There you go.
And that's the way I'll wrap that up right there. I'm done. I'm just joking.
Hot damn.
So
I need some fondue.
Right? So this right here on the color, I put light gold, and I according to one of our people who commented on one of our previous episodes, which I do greatly appreciate. Thank you, Whiskey 4. I think that's what I call you anyways, is Whiskey 4. I do greatly appreciate it, and I saw a little bit of the flaw just going straight like 1, 2, 3, 4 from like light to dark color amber. So I did give this one a 4 on the color. I thought it was a nice kind of like color there. I did enjoy that. I gave the presentation of the box a 4 because once again, I don't think it quite hits the 5 mark. It wasn't like super intricate. Didn't have much of wood or anything else with that.
She likes wood.
She does like wood. But so I gave that a 4 too. But now we're going into the aroma, right? This is a 30-point scale here. And on the aroma, I put smoky pineapple with mocha, pine, peat, and sea breeze. And it's kind of nice because it's like you get that like nice smoky sweet pineapple smell to it, and then it kind of like I get a little bit of like that chocolate mocha scent in there, and a little bit of pine, and that the peat that you get normally from like an Ardbeg, and then you get that nice refreshing sea breeze that kind of comes along with it. It makes for a well-developed and very complex aroma, which and it's kind of nice too, because like every time I smell it, I always get like something a little bit different kind of pokes out. And I don't think I've captured all the flavors or all the different scents that are actually in this Ardbeg, but the ones I did capture, I definitely enjoyed, and it's very welcoming to the Scotch. And that's another thing, though. Like when you get like the Ardbeg 10 or like even like Lagavulin or something like that, they are like like that heavy peat and the smoke and everything, where people get like that Band-Aid smell or whatever. This does not have that whatsoever, which is nice and refreshing, especially coming from Islay. And I think it does highlight some of the type of great Scotch that you can't or that you can get from Islay. Now the palate. Here again, I think the first thing that hits my front palate here is that sweet pineapple smokiness there from that smoky pineapple that you get from like that grilled pineapple, like the grilled chili pineapple, I think is what they serve there at Rodizio's. So that's like the first thing that hits my tongue, and then that creates that kind of like sappiness right there that kind of coats your mouth. And then that kind of follows up with like a little bit of mocha and brown sugar. And that sweetness is, it's not overly powering. It's just really nice and mild sweetness with that smoke going in there. And then I start getting like hints of like tar and pine and then and a little bit of smoke. And that all leads into the finish, where what mainly stands out to me is campfire smoke on my finish. And as you and I were talking, I totally agree with you. It's like that good campfire smell. It's not like the campfire smell that gets on your clothes and you're like the next day with it, as you were pointing out. It's like that when you think of camping, you get that nostalgic kind of like feeling of like a campfire and how great it is, and like cooking your s'mores and all that kind of junk. It's like that kind of campfire smell, and not the one where you're getting suffocated by the smoke smell. And also with that, I get like maybe like hints of almond and pine needles. Once again, the pine needles kind of resurface a little bit there for me, and it gives me a nice medium finish. And the one thing I notice here that's not as prevalent as in like some of the other Ardbegs is I don't really pick up like that heavy peat there in the finish. But to me, it's just more like the campfire smoke with like hints of pine needles and almonds and and it creates just that nice medium finish. I think it's excellent. So on the aroma, I gave it 28 out of 30. On the palate, I gave it also 28 out of 30. On the finish, because I think the finish could have lasted a little bit longer.
That's what she said.
I gave that a 27 out of 30. So that gave me a grand total of, if my math is correct, 91.
Your math is correct.
So honestly, I don't remember what you paid for this, but if you do happen to come across it, I think it's like right around the $300 range. So if you do come across this and you do have like 300 and something to spend on it, I highly recommend it. I think it's a great bottle. It's a bottle that you're going to enjoy the complexity of this Scotch, and it's not going to let you down. Like I said, even though I took a quick snapshot here, I'm not picking up I'm not picking up all the different aromas. I'm not picking up all the different flavors in the palate. These are just the ones that kind of stood out to me, and it's a lot more complex than what I put in here. But if I was going to wrap it up into like a short little nugget, or if I was going to like throw it onto an ad that was like on Instagram that I only had like so many letters or whatever that I could put in there, I'd put grilled smoky pineapple dipped in chocolate fondue. That's how I would summarize this, and I think it's excellent. I love it, and it has great complexity.
I agree. When I think of this Scotch, there is something absolutely underlying through the nose, the palate, and the finish that is Ardbeg, but it is not the brash Ardbeg that I also love. This one is more delicate, more complex, but at the same time, very, very bold. And with today's current situation, both economically and socially, I think Ardbeg nailed this for an entirely different reason. When you think about the fact that the Traigh Bhan is this beautiful beach known as the Singing Sands, this is all about experience. And that is what this Scotch is to me. It is an experience. It is not just another whiskey or another spirit. It is an experience that, as I think about it, I literally dive into the thought of drinking this scotch in front of a fire after the sun has set on a beach. It is fantastic. And I think they nailed it with this one. This is a great scotch for me. And yes, you were absolutely right. Right around the 320 mark was what I paid. Thank you, Total Wine, for always, keeping our receipts on your app on our phone so I can look it up and see what I paid before tax. The presentation, man, the box is a 5, but the bottle to me is just a 4. And that's tough because it's also a great bottle. Ardbeg has not gone wrong with any of this, but it is not a 5 at this point. Nothing short of a 4.5, but we're going to stick with a 4 since we're sticking with whole numbers on this point scale. So presentation, a 4. For me, the color I also love. For me, medium gold. And 4 out of 5. It is great. It looks inviting. It is definitely something that reminds me of a beautiful, warm summer day on a white sand beach. For the nose, and I'll just read off the points as I go along. The nose was a 28 for me as well. And right off the bat, I get the sea spray, the smoke, a little hint of toffee, and then lemon and lime zest. And that is part of what opens it up and helps make the nose smell clean to me. And then it's interesting because the opposite of what I would consider normally a clean scent would be pepper, but it's right there with the lemon and lime zest. So it is, again, inviting, delicate, but also bold. The palate is where this scotch shines. Not that it didn't shine on the nose. And I loved your description. It is, first off, full-bodied. It starts with this sea spray or brine right at the front of the palate with smoke interlaced, intricately involved, and I like those two together. Like smoking a cigar on a warm beach where the waves are crashing, and you get that feeling of the moisture hitting you. That is what this is, with the smoke intricately laced in between it again. And then on the palate, the lemon lime zest. So it comes out, and you've got the brine and a little bit of smoke, and then this lemon zest and lime zest, and then that honey coating flavor. You talked about it coats your mouth, or you used a different term, but for me, it's like honey all of a sudden coats the mouth, and it goes very sweet from this refreshing zest to more of a pepper and smoked sugar, or smoked honey, really brown sugar, smoked brown sugar. And then on the finish, it is, for me, the finish is pretty long. And with that comes, again, you got brine, but you have, or I have, clove coming out, the slightest hint of pine. And what I think I like about that is typically it's a pine log you're burning in that fire on the beach that you smell the next morning, not the bad smoke, the good smoke. And yeah, it does with me finish with just that smoked wood and the ever so slightest, I don't even know if it's peated, but the ever so slightest hint of peat, not Band-Aid, but peat. For me, therefore, the palate is a 28. The finish was also a 28. Total score, 92.
That's pretty funny. You got a 92, I got a 91. It's pretty. I could have easily put a 28 on the finish. I would take it to a black tie affair because I do think the box and the presentation screams black tie. I would not take it to a poker event because I'm selfish. And I would only share it with very super close friends that enjoy scotch. Otherwise, it'd just be something I would hoard. But the only reason why I would take it to a black tie event and not hoard it is just because the presentation screams black tie affair. Like that black and white box, you think of like a nice tuxedo, you like, white on black or white on, or just the straight traditional black. I just, to me, yeah, I would do that. But Otherwise, I'm hoarding it and keeping it for myself or me and some very close friends. And I forgot to mention that on my ending of mine.
Yeah, I would take it to a black tie event as well. It would have to be a pretty damn special poker game for this to go. But, if Daniel Craig wants to sit opposite me and try our Bond luck out, I would be happy to bring it to that. But otherwise, it is not for the faint. At $320, it's not inexpensive. It is not a cheap Scotch. It's also not for someone who won't appreciate it. Please do not give this to someone who is going to shoot this like it's something they don't want to taste, because this is meant to be enjoyed. Yes, savor it. We're not trying to endure a shot. We're trying to savor every last sip.
It's time for our shout-outs.
I'm going to skip the shout-outs and the get-togethers this week. I have a lot of them politically, but I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let you move on. You can say your shout-outs.
I actually didn't have a shout-out this week.
I am curious. I was just thinking, man, neither of us mentioned anything about Formula One.
Shout out! Actually, shout out! Yeah, sorry, that was a total shout out. I totally forgot about Formula One. Fernando Alonso. That dude totally gets a shout out. Like, I watched. Okay, so and I'm gonna give it, like, not only is this a shout out, but it's also going to be a get it together. So I was invited to join a F1 fantasy league.
Nice.
And I can't figure it out. I can't.
Oh shit!
I got my team set up, but for some reason, like when I go to log in to like join the league, it never accepts me. Like I like it shows my team. It was like really weird. Like it looked like I was in it, but like I'm not in it. Like so when I go into the league, it doesn't show my team at all.
Huh.
So I'm gonna give myself a get it together. Like I can't figure out how to join this F1 league. I do have an F1 team though on my fantasy league.
Please tell me nothing Mercedes is currently on your team.
No. And they got I do have one Ferrari. I have Sands. So I chose Verstappen as my main guy.
Sure, hashtag winning.
Yeah. And then I got Sands. And then I also got Alonso. And then I forget who the other two guys were. But all five of the guys I chose all finished in the top 10.
So I'm guessing Russell?
No,
Russell? Really?
No, it was I had to take one guy who was like really, really cheap, but he actually made it to the top 10. And my two constructor was Red Bull and Aston Martin.
Can't go wrong with Red Bull. Aston Martin is, for me, currently the surprise of the season. But what I think is wonderful about this is Alonso started aging quite some time ago. And that is just, unfortunately, a natural fact. We will go through different cycles in life. And I do believe Hamilton has hit one of those rings around the tree has been added on. And he is facing new challenges in life. Michael Schumacher did it. Kimi Räikkönen did it. Hakkinen did it. David Coulthard, all of these great racers that I have watched for many of them, most of their careers, if not all of them. They all went through these different cycles, and you have to learn and grow and adapt, and things start to go. And I think as you were telling me about the race, I have not had the opportunity to watch it yet. As you were telling me about it, though, it's like, Alonso and Hamilton playing in the back or the middle of the field, so to speak. That's real.
Yeah, they were playing, and then like Alonso pulled off a pass in a corner that you normally wouldn't see a pass. I think it was like a turn 10 or something like that. And then he did another excellent pass to take over Sands to take third place. Yeah, he did an excellent job. There's actually a couple of like really great battles in there too. So it was really fun to watch. And it was the first race of the season. It was Bahrain. I think it was the Dram.
Bahrain.
All right.
I'm just using the Traigh.
But yeah, so anyways, that was like the shout out definitely goes to Alonso on F1. And thank you for reminding me about that because I totally spaced it out. And it was funny too because like I was in there texting you like like every time like there was a good pass or whatever, and who was like in first and all that. So
And I'm like, dude, I'm working. Not that I wasn't excited to hear the good news in many cases, but I don't have a shout out or a get together, but I will tell you, everyone from my work had one get it together, and it was for the Mercedes team and Total Wolff and Lewis Hamilton to get it together. They're like, they got the car all wrong. And whose engine is Austin Martin using?
I don't know. Is it Mercedes? Here's what, if I was going to give it a get it together though on a team, I'd have to give it to Ferrari. Like, how do you like screw up your engine again?
Oh man, that's a tough one. From what I saw,
at first I thought it was a power failure, but it turned out to be an engine failure.
it was electrical.
Like, okay.
And yeah, that's a tough one. We'll see if it happens again, because really, if it's the first couple races of the year, you have a few problems. Man, Verstappen had those problems last year, still won. 2 years in a row right now.
And also,
man of the season.
I forget who. I think Norris. I think he drives for Alfa Romeo. Maybe, or it was either, or maybe it's McLaren. Anyways, Norris, he needs, like, him and his team needs it. They need to get it together too. He had like something like 5 or 6 pit stops before he finally retired. It was bad. I do like the Alfa Romeo's new design though.
The colors.
I do like that kind of like I don't know, it's like a maroon red or something like that. That darker red that they have. I thought that looked really nice. Maybe it's like a dark cherry red.
Yeah. I look forward to watching it. I'm going to watch it with Aiden this weekend.
The brain or the new one?
Is the next race already this weekend? I thought we had a 2 weeks pass. If we don't, yeah, I'll just watch the new one.
I don't know if the new one's this weekend or not.
Restaurant review. So we had, now I may be wrong, but I think it was Pat's Philly cheesesteaks. All right. And yeah.
Basically off of
Dayton and Arapahoe.
Yep.
Now, do you want to go first?
You can, I guess.
No, go for it.
All right. So Pat's Philly cheesesteaks is really originally opened up by Patrick Neely, who was born and raised. I think he's born and raised in Philadelphia. He started cooking chili cheesesteaks since he was 13 years old. He eventually moved out here to Colorado, opened up the original shop, which I think is off of Iliff. And then eventually opened up some other satellite stores. So we went to one of the satellite stores there off of Dayton and Arapahoe. And honestly, it's like a small, the place we went to is like a small hole in the wall type of shop, like something you would expect to see in Philly, getting a Philly steak cheese for some of the places I've been to. And really, like when it comes to like cheesesteaks, Philly cheesesteaks, I really love Tony Luke's cheesesteaks. I know that's not one of the top 2 that like most tourists go to, but when I was living, I wouldn't say living, but I guess when I was working out there, everyone from Philadelphia, I was asking, like, if I wanted a cheesesteak, which one do I want to go to? And they all, like everyone that I worked with, all recommend Tony Luke. So, and I was very pleased with Tony Luke's. This place wasn't as good as Tony Luke's, but I think it's probably like one of the better Philly cheesesteaks I've had outside of Philadelphia. And they had like a nice list of different options. I got the green chili cheesesteak, which is kind of like I would say like a Colorado twist on a cheesesteak, because they had Hatch green chili. And I did a 6-inch sub there, and then I did the 6-inch the Italian Stallion to kind of keep up with the theme for tonight's Smarter Challenge, which is Creed 3. So as we know, the Italian Stallion is Rocky Balboa. And that was the meatball Italian sausage with marinara and provolone and Parmesan cheese. And that was excellent. So the Hatch green chili cheesesteak, it was good. It was big. And I would definitely recommend it for anybody who wants to go there. But I think the next time I go, if I don't go with like the meatball or the Italian stallion, I will go with just a normal cheesesteak just to try that out. Because I would think that just because of how the Hatch green chili one was, the original cheesesteak must have been phenomenal. The bread was great. It wasn't quite what you get on the East Coast, but it was still a pretty good piece of bread that they put these sandwiches on. And they also had crab fries, which I haven't really seen except for when I was out in Philadelphia and Baltimore area. And those were excellent. Although they do serve it with the fake cheese stuff that I don't like anyway. But the fries themselves I loved. So it's more of like since it's more of a hole in the wall place, I wouldn't necessarily say it is a medium to high end, but I felt like I paid like a medium price range just because I tried the two different sandwiches and fries, and the fries are actually more probably split for two people rather than one person.
Huge.
And even though with the two sandwiches, I'm gonna say the food was a solid, for the type of place it was, fast foodie type of place.
I would give it the fast food rating based on the fact that it was so reasonably priced. That was insane.
So the fast food, I'm gonna say it's in the fast food category, but I'm gonna give it like a 9, the fast food category. The actual ambiance of the place, it reminds me of like a hole in the wall Philly place. So I'm gonna give that an 8 because honestly, there wasn't a whole lot of tables in there to sit at. So, but I wish it had like a little bit more seating. But it seemed like a Philly place. So I'm giving it an 8 for that type of ambiance. And the way the people were friendly there, I'm gonna give that maybe like a 6 or it was nothing special. I did feel like I don't know why I did it because I don't really tip on these on these fast foodie places, but here I kind of felt like it needed a tip. I don't know why, but I did do a little bit of a tip on this one.
You're just swinging it.
Yeah.
Just talk.
Any case, overall though, for the overall experience, I'm going to give it an 8 for overall experience in food. I really did enjoy their Philly steak. And Pat's in the article that I read in the Westward for Denver, I looked up. They have an article for the 10 best cheesesteak places in Denver, and Pat's was on there. And apparently, Pat takes his time to train all of his different cooks, so that way they become sandwich artists, is what they say. And I think they did a great job of making a great sandwich. So I'd say they do hold up to whole sandwich artist. So I'm going to give it a solid 8.
For me, it was a pleasant surprise because, as you mentioned, this place literally looks like a dumpster fire hazard from the parking lot, because the parking lot
might be in Philly too.
Yes, exactly. So I think, actually I don't think, to me, as you have mentioned, it absolutely fit the role of many a cheesesteak shop in Philly. I didn't spend half as much time, a fraction of the time only, that you spent there, but I visited every cheesesteak place I passed just to compare. And what I typically experienced was just that. It was basically like a fast food type of arrangement, nothing high end. Prices were always reasonable, and I love that when you think that you pay a lot for a good ribeye steak, and the best Philly cheesesteaks are ribeyes sliced super thin into these sandwiches. For me, the atmosphere, again, we're going to consider this on the low end of the restaurant spectrum. So it's not high end by any means. It's also not middle of the road. And part of that reason is the value was outstanding. For me here, the value was a 10. Honestly, the value was a 10. And with that, I ordered way too much food. I ordered the 6-inch cheesesteak, and I got pepperoncinis and cherry peppers, and it was a little spicy, not too spicy, hot and delicious. You mentioned the bread was fabulous, and the cheese was the cheese was exactly like I experienced in Philly. They nailed it. I had as a second 6-inch sandwich the meatball sub. The Parmesan stood out. The meatballs were fantastic. By this point, though, I'd already eaten one very large sandwich, and I was getting to the point where, much like yourself, I had the crab fries, and I loved their fake cheese. It was perfect, but I was so full I could only eat half my fries. I couldn't finish the bread for the second 6-inch. When you think about Subway nowadays charging $10 or so for a foot-long sandwich, I would absolutely go here over there. Value-wise, pay the extra couple of dollars and have it made hot and fresh like it was. Absolutely fantastic. Food for me was a 9. The fries were perfectly crispy, and I know you didn't care for the cheese like I did. I loved that fake cheese flavor because the fake cheese flavor was so great, it tasted like it had a little real cheese in it. And then the service, what do you expect from fast food? I thought the same thing after that. I'm like, why did I just give to these people 20% just to call my name and take my order? But that's like the new standard after COVID. It's unfortunately, you better just consider whatever the prices are on almost any order, adding 20%. God, if only more countries were like Germany. And so for me, the service was an 8. The food was a 9. The atmosphere, that was the one opportunity. Still more welcoming and kind of warm than some, but definitely very Philly oriented. So a 7 overall. For me, it is an 8. And here's where it gets tricky. It's a high score. I want this food for myself. But it is not meant to impress anyone who doesn't just want a great Philly cheesesteak. If you know someone, whether that's a date or a friend who wants a great Philly cheesesteak and doesn't care if they're sitting on what looks like $2 steel stamped chairs on a $10 table in a rough spot that has a couple pieces of flair up on the walls, you're in, because you will not go wrong with the food. But the atmosphere, even though it's so high, like, it's not sexy at all.
Definitely is not sexy. And I didn't mention this. I don't know if I would take a first date there.
Oh, no.
But here's the thing. Maybe if I knew she was from Philly, I might take a first date there.
No, because pride, man. The East Coast and their pride, they're always going to be like, this ain't shit.
Yeah, I know. But, I probably would take a first date there. But would I meet a buddy there? Sure.
See, and I would meet a buddy there, but that's where it just gets tricky because, again, the atmosphere wasn't bad. It was just cold.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a place where I guess you would like go to sit and eat. Really? I mean, it only had 2 tables, and then it had like a kind of like a bar with like maybe 4 more chairs there.
Did it have outdoor seating? I didn't think it did.
I think it had a table outside.
So that would be the place to sit in the summer, feeling more like Philly even more. That would be a win.
Yeah. So I think, because I think there was like 1 or 2 tables outside.
Better yet, pick up a couple of subs or sandwiches here, cheesesteaks, and go over to Landron's Cellars and eat on their patio.
That, or what I was thinking, and I didn't think about this until after we drove away, but there's like a brewery like right on the other side of the building.
That's a good point.
Which doesn't serve food. So you can go grab beer over there and probably order a Philly there, and take it over there and have the Philly.
There we go. That's all right. Diet Coke or soda was okay for tonight.
But yeah, I like the place.
I did too. The food was fantastic.
Smarter challenges.
So this week, our Smarter Challenge was to review the movie Creed 3.
That's right. So Creed 3, we're talking about, and Noah did the research here, 47 years of Rocky-themed movies in this franchise that had a reboot not terribly long ago as part of the Creed. And Man, we're ready for this. Let's go.
All right, Creed 3.
Body shot.
Body blow, uppercut, body blow, jab.
I think I'm going to have to go for the whole bottle because I don't think I can get a glass.
Yeah,
I don't want to do that. Break that.
Take me up, coach.
Now, during the movie, Noah did notice and mention that there is.
This also keeps on track with our theme. So in the movie, when he's talking to...
It's just great to see you turning the pages with your gloves on.
Where he's talking to Jonathan Mayer, whose character is Diamond Dame Anderson.
Right, Dame.
So when Adonis, Creed, and Dane, they're with Dame, when they're talking to each other at his home, you see a bottle of Glenmorangie Signet and, to keep up with this here theme, an Ardbeg. Not this Ardbeg. It could have been, and I'm not really positive, I think it might have been Ardbeg 10, but it could have been the Ugadal or the Corey Becken. But
what's important is it wasn't this nice because we have more money. Just saying.
So, in any case, so this is the third part of or third, I guess, movie installment of the Creeds, and I don't know, where should we start here? Like, I didn't really think about a good starting point.
What's your overall feeling with the movie?
All right, so my overall feeling of the movie is that, have you ever just think about this? Have you ever had a great dish that somebody makes, and you ask them for the recipe? So they give you the recipe, and then you go home and you make it sometime later. And you cook it for yourself. It tastes good, but not as good as theirs. So here, this is what I kind of got from Creed 3. It's like they had the recipe of all the different Rocky movies and the first two Creed movies, but when they made it and they cooked it, it didn't quite turn out as well as all the other ones. And I think this kind of brings up the whole fact about there was why Sylvester Stallone or Rocky wasn't even in this movie, because there's been a long time feud between Stallone and Irwin Winkler.
Yep.
Who was the longtime franchise producer of the Rocky series, and the new writers, which are Keenan Coogler and Zach Balin. Keenan Coogler, this is his first time writing anything. It might have been his second time writing something, because I think this is his first time writing something. Sorry. The other guy, Zach Balin, this is his second time writing something. And the other thing that he wrote was King Richard. And so this also was the other guy's. It's both their second time. Because the other one helped write Space Jam New Legacy. No one knows, right? But in any case,
Space Jam, Creed 3, yeah, I see the ties.
Stallone is been quoted as saying something. Where is it at here? But basically, Stallone is saying somewhere here in this article that I found on Yahoo, saying that he wants something that's more similar to, he's a little bit more of a traditionalist, wants something that's a little bit more uplifting. He wants his heroes to go through a bit of a battle, but never get too negative and still come out on the end and having a positive feel to the meaning, to the positive feel to the movie. Whereas the new writers said that they want to do more of a Cape Fear type of scenario, and seem to have a little bit more of a darker twist, which is something Stallone didn't like. And so it seemed like there was a little bit of friction there between not only Winkler and the direction that they went with the writing, making it more dark, to where he's yeah, I'm out. And I think by reading this article I saw here on Yahoo, it seems like he might feel a little bit depressed about not having to reprise Rocky again. But at the same time, I think with Michael B. Jordan, this is his first time directing a movie. And I think he did a great job directing it. I think they did capture it being a little bit more dark than other traditional like Rocky movies or even the first two Creeds. And for his first debut as a director, I thought he did an excellent job.
It's interesting because I've seen that and we've talked briefly about it and you've mentioned it, and that is the dark piece. And what I don't see in this movie is actually the dark piece. I don't see the piece where there is true internal torment that someone is having to deal with. And you can say that Michael B. Jordan's character, Creed, Adonis Creed, is going through that, but I don't believe it's the same as it was, or at least if that's the case, he's not the actor Sly Stallone is. When he acted the same role, I don't see the same torment. I don't see the same fear. And I think that that's really the thing that was most surprising to me, that I really would have liked. One of the scenes that had a ton of potential in this movie to me, where it was good, but it under-delivered, was during the fight, the final fight. And you've got Dane and Adonis fighting, and I think it's round 11. It goes basically, there's no audience. It's basically black and white, and it's just the two of them seeing each other.
See, I didn't like that at all.
So I didn't either, and that's what I mean by it had a ton of potential. But it was a failure. That scene could have made the movie twice the movie it was, but instead I felt deflated afterwards.
See, I think that's where that darker sense is supposed to come in, is right there.
That wasn't dark to me. Like, what would have made it meaningful, impactful, dark is if they had the flashes of Adonis's mother being, having passed away after she told him.
Well, and that's where I think they like dropped the ball, because it's supposed to be dark, like you're saying, and I don't think, and I agree with you. I don't think you see that true turmoil happening. I just think what it had was like an overlying like dark cloud, like it's like it was ominous, but not like frightful or fearful. It just kind of like the mood. Like when you watch like a Rocky movie, you're kind of like, I don't know. I wouldn't say you're like you're giddy or happy, but like you see him go through like his, you see the hero's journey, right? Basically, and here
heroes always fall at the end.
Here, you kind of, it's just more just like it feels like it's weighted down throughout the whole movie, and I think maybe that's what they meant by dark, because there's nothing like fearful about it. It just, or nothing really dark about it. It just seemed like it was just kind of like more like weighted down. Just it just had like a more darker theme about like him reliving his past of being like a little hoodlum.
Yeah, see, I don't know why, but maybe this is just a piece of me. None of that really stuck with me. What stuck with me was you have this piece of the movie, 6 minutes long, roughly. Towards the end of the movie, it goes black and white, it has all the potential, and they literally make it about them. Whereas, what is it that they are? And then it goes into nothing. That's where I wanted the detail. I wanted, him, seeing, flashing back and seeing a picture of his father, flashing back, and Dane, looking at, the bars from the inside versus he's throwing Adonis against the bars. It was almost backwards because the caged feeling was by the wrong person. And I didn't like the way it tried to impose. If Adonis ever felt like he was imprisoned, and that was what that was supposed to see when he was thrown against the bars looking like he was in jail, to hell with that.
I agree with you, but I guess his like whole imprisonment or what they're trying to show or display, and I'm just tossing this out here. I'm not sure this is what the writers were really going after, but in my assumption, the writers, I think, were trying to go after like him being encaged was his guilt that he got away versus where Dame got arrested.
And I fully understand,
but like, I think they did a poor job of delivering it.
it just had more potential. Now, that being said, whereas that one scene to me underdelivered, the rest of the movie was fun. It was a great experience. It was a great journey. And the only other piece of this whole experience, going to the theater and everything that I didn't enjoy, was that I haven't seen an audience be so disrespectful to their atmosphere during a movie in as long as I can remember, decades, as the audience I saw this movie with. When the lights came up after I had sat down and enjoyed the movie and people were chatty and being disrespectful to each other in general, there was trash all over the theater floor. I was stepping on popcorn because I couldn't jump 12 feet to get over the spills. It looked like people had literally been throwing their buckets all over the floor. And one of the things that really stuck with me is, man, what is going on here? Is society changing that much? Does this movie instill a desire and a demand and a request for respect, or does it take it away? And that's another piece that I'm still trying to figure out for myself, because as an audience, they're leaving this theater, assuming they see more than one movie. They're leaving this theater like that for the next ongoers and viewers. And ultimately, at some point, if that cycle continues, that's them. They're treating these theater employees like dirt. And it made me sad. That was the other thing about this experience that made me sad, was how are all of these people, I go and pick up my trash, and if I spill popcorn, I'm throwing it in my bucket and I take it back. And I literally was disgusted by the way these people were leaving this environment.
Well, that's more about the theater than the movie itself. And I see what you're talking about. Like my experience at the two theaters, because I saw it twice. One was that I saw it on IMAX on a Wednesday before like the Thursday release, and there was like 10 people in the theater, and they were all like probably middle aged or older people, and everyone was totally respectful. And then I saw it again, and I went to the Dolby Digital at the place that's by where the Chinese Man Theater, or it used to be the Chinese AMC now, I guess. There people once again, only probably 15, 20 people in there, not very many people. And yeah, no, nothing disrespectful there. Yeah.
And that's fantastic. I don't understand, because you mentioned it's not the movie, but at some point, what is it about that environment that is allowing it?
It could be about the movie. I'm not saying it wasn't about the movie. You're talking about the theater, but it could be maybe and this is kind of a touchy subject here, and I don't really want to broach it, but broach it. But
put a brooch on it.
Put a brooch. I don't want to breach it, I guess. But the thing is that when you have a movie that has maybe one type of people in it, it usually attracts a lot of those type of people, and sometimes they may not be the most respectful. And that can be for any group of people.
So what he's saying is there are a lot of superheroes that go to the Marvel Universe movies because they are doing billions of dollars.
But anyways, to kind of get off this subject altogether, one of my favorite scenes in the movie was when Dame goes to fight Felix.
And I enjoyed that too.
And the funny part, I think and I think it kind of holds true. Felix is either, I'm not sure if he was Mexican or Hispanic American or Mexican American or whatever he was, but you can tell he definitely had some kind of Mexican heritage to him. But when they panned the audience in the arena for the boxing scene, they show a lot of Hispanics in there and stuff like that. And then he comes out his whole walking entourage, where they're blowing the smoke of the Mexican flag colors, and how he has an Aztec head on and stuff like that. I thought it was kind of cool, how he had his entrance. And then and I think I like this about boxing in general, or like with these like Rocky movies and stuff like that, or you now Creed movies, is I do like the entrances.
Pro wrestling. Roar!
I think the entrance going into the ring kind of sets the mood of like that fighter. It kind of expresses like who they are, right? And I think when you see Dame when he goes in to go fight against Creed, I think he has like an old like 80s or 90s rap song on, because it sounded like it was like Easy E or something like that, and you saw like an old black lady kind of like
a black skirt.
You see like an older black woman like dancing to it and stuff like that. And then I think when you listen to Creed's intro, it's more like, I've been here, I worked myself up, I defend myself, I defend my family. Like when you listen to those lyrics, like it had a meaning towards it, and like the way his outfit was, it was kind of like it held to like once again to the Apollo Creed type of throwback of the USA trunks. He had like kind of like the flag type of robe, and then when you see his trunks, it's stars and stripes, but it's all like white stars and stripes.
I'm glad you brought that up, because it was one of the most impactful wardrobe choices in this entire movie for me, was Adonis's robe as he entered the ring for the final fight against Dane. And with that, it was what you said. It is this red, white, and blue stars and stripes, but it had been weathered, it had been torn, and it had been mended. It was dirty, and not in a bad way, but in the used way. And I loved it. It
sent a message along with the song.
It was that was probably the most sentimental part as far as just a visual influence, artistically, of the whole movie to me, which is, Dame was disrespectful and threw Creed's name through the mud and all that stuff. Yes, and yet, just like America has done, this is what I'm very proud of for this movie. Michael B. Jordan, everyone who had anything to do with this, I think it stood true to, America will go through hard times, but we will survive, we will thrive, and we will stand tall as long as we are able.
So I think the entrance into these, like, I think they show meaning of the characters. It helps like build up that I don't know, excitement and anticipation of the fights. I think another really great scene. I think you and I talked about this, and I'll let you describe it, because I think you did a better job of describing it when we were talking. But the scene with Creed versus Drago.
Oh. That was one of the greatest moments in this movie to me, as far as being a mature man and the relationships between mature men. So, spoiler alert.
Oh, this is spoiler alert.
We hope you know this. But at this point, Drago is in this movie, and he is brought into this movie to help train Adonis to fight Dane. And when he's first introduced to Adonis, or Creed, the fighting is pretty, it's limp.
Yeah, Creed's not there mentally.
It's placid. It's not happening, and it takes Creed taking a pretty good beating by Drago. And Drago's at the point where he's like, I am tired of hurting this man who I know is more capable than this. Like, he's not there, and Creed's taking his beating, and then finally, it sticks, and there's a point in his own life that hits him, and he gets up and he's able to start getting himself back together, and he hits Drago. And he hits Drago hard. At this point, they've both taken off their head guards, and Drago smiles because he feels it, and he checks it on his glove, and Creed finally hit him hard enough that he's bleeding. And there's an underlying story within this whole movie, and that is, whenever you are great, if you had to fight for it, at some point, if you pretend to retire, or if you pretend to give that up, or anything else, if you say you don't miss it, you are lying to everyone else, but more importantly, you're lying to yourself. And what this meant to me was, this is Drago taking a minute and be like, yes, that's the man who I lost to fair and square. And yes, God damn it, I like that pain. And yes, this is what I want, because even though this isn't a real fight, you're the one challenge I've had in my life that I still stand and have to fight.
Yeah, I think that was also a great moment. The one thing I wish they would have done, and I kind of brought it up at the very beginning, is I wish there was just a little bit more references to Rocky.
Or more than one.
Yeah, more than one. I mean, they only name dropped him once, and there's only 3 times I know, like, they kind of sort of all together, including that one name drop. So total 3 times where it kind of references Rocky. Like there's Apollo gave an underdog a shot. They didn't use Rocky's name. They just said Apollo gave an underdog a shot, which we all know is Rocky. Then when he talks to Felix, I think he convinces Felix to fight Damien because he's like, well, Apollo versus Rocky was one of the most watched fights ever, and they're still talking about it today. So that was the one time they name dropped Rocky, and then the third time I saw him kind of reference something towards Rocky was right before he goes to fight Damien, or right before Creed fights Damien, where he's like, one punch, one step, one round. And that's kind of like a flashback towards the first Creed when Rocky first starts to train him. And honestly, I wish, like, if they're going to remove Rocky from the Creeds, which is fine. I don't mind that, Michael B. Jordan wants to explore Adonis's Creed's story further. But it would have been nice if they gave a decent closure to Rocky to let us know, like, what happened to Rocky. Like, did he die? Did he just retire and decide to, like, spend time with his kid and grandson? Like, what happened there? Like why are you guys not talking anymore? Like, he doesn't mention him whatsoever. It's almost like Creed forgot all about Rocky.
Yeah, the guy he needed in Creed 2 to get him back into shape to win the fight against Drago. No, isn't needed at all.
Yeah, it's like, when he's like going through his rough times in this movie, like, why can't you reference or think about, like, look at a picture of Rocky saying, man, I wish you were here. I wish you'd give me some advice, or, this is, like, or have like a flashback of him looking at a picture of like some advice that Rocky gave him, something, I don't know.
It is tough because I've been thinking about that same thing long and hard. And we know that between Irwin Winkler and Stallone, there's been this feud ever since Stallone. And this is where Sylvester Stallone, good, bad, or otherwise, screwed up. He sold the rights to the Rocky franchise to Irwin Winkler for nothing, literally nothing.
I think that he was like pretty much dead broke with the original Rocky.
Right. And
he even had to sell his dog.
Right. And that was Sly Stallone's piece. And he'd have all of this much more money and future money for his family and kids and everything else. And I think that's probably what burns him now. But we all have those points where we made that call. Stallone learned. He's created other franchises, which he has not done the same thing to. And it's one of those things. But at the same time, you think about the pieces that you mentioned, and those are truly honorary to Rocky. I just don't know if they gave Stallone the honors he might have deserved or needed. So in other words, Rocky and Sylvester Stallone are the same person on the screen. Off the screen, they're not the same person.
And I still don't think they gave Rocky a decent enough, like, homage, I guess. Like, I get, like, they're two different people, but I'm like, I don't think, it doesn't really seem like Creed really, like, acknowledges Rocky except for the one punch, one step, one round, and him trying to sell Felix on taking an underdog. Which really kind of, I think, him telling Felix to take an underdog and using Rocky right there as an example. that seemed more like a salesmanship and like he wasn't really doing like Rocky's legacy any honor right there.
Well, let's face it. Here's the other piece to this. I love that you brought this up right here, right now, because what happened when Creed fought Rocky the underdog? Hey, Felix, I want you to take on this underdog. What happened? Creed ultimately lost.
Well, the first time Creed won.
Right. Creed ultimately lost. So, by the way, I want you to take on this underdog. Ultimately, you lose, which is exactly what happened.
Well, Felix got his butt kicked. He got destroyed.
He did get destroyed. I honestly thought that this was going to be Rocky 4 all over again and that he was dead. And the part of it that was most interesting about that exchange to me was how even as her son, Felix's mother, was watching him get his tail whooped and was like, go get him. Whoa, this is your baby. About to get killed, and you're saying go get him? Everyone else sees what's happening. Go get him. What? Go bring me that money. Mama want a new Prada.
Mama was a gold digger.
Mama needs some Louis. Gucci don't pay the bills.
So I don't know. I overall I think it was a good movie, but I don't think it was like as good as what I would expect from like the first two Creeds or like what I expect, from like a Rocky movie. I don't know. Your thoughts on that?
I'm still debating that because there were pieces I liked. And I think Aiden's going to love it, but there are also pieces where more so than any dark side coming out, I still don't see a dark side coming out. More so than that is, unless that was a tale of the future where Creed starts doing really dirty things. More so than that, it's tough to have a reboot, step away. Ultimately, Sylvester Stallone has to be out of the picture anyway. And I thought the movie was great. There was one scene that could have been so much better and would have changed the movie from just great to fabulous. And that was round 11, basically, in the movie.
I agree. I think that one scene could have made a huge difference. I think that could have been a little bit better. And then, like I said, I think they could have just done a better closure with Rocky. Not Stallone necessarily, but just Rocky, the character. Like him explaining like what happened with Rocky. I did, and here's one thing we haven't really talked about though, but his new trainer is Little Duke, which was the son of the trainer who trained Apollo Creed. So, and I think he did a decent job, but he was also in Creed 2. And he's the one that, like, when he trained Adonis, got his ass kicked by Drago. And then Rocky had to come in and save the day and train him how to beat Drago. But overall, it's a good movie. I think people should go see it. I enjoyed it. Obviously, if I hated the movie, I wouldn't have seen it twice. And I'll probably go see it a third time because I think there's a couple other things that I missed from the first two times that I kind of want to just recheck out one more time. But it's definitely one like it, I think it belongs with the Creed collection. If you already have the other two Creed movies, you might as well get this Creed movie as well. And it is as rewatchable as the other ones. I just think it's just I think the feeling is different in this one. The formula is the same, but I think the feeling is different. And that like I said, I liked it, but I don't think I'm not sure if it's right up there. It's weird because like I have unsettled feelings about this movie.
Well, here, let me bring up a couple points that might help settle some of those unsettled feelings. We talked about this initially, and that was you have to change your mindset entirely with this movie because It's no longer in Philly. It's in Los Angeles. It's in LA.
It is.
And then we have changed from the baby boomer generation to the millennials, and Gen Z are the main viewers of this movie now, the people who are going to appreciate it. And let's face it, Adonis Creed's house in LA was the tits.
It was the tits. I should ask you this. Do you consider Adonis an LA fighter, or do you consider Adonis a Philly fighter?
So after this movie, or simply considering this movie, absolutely 100% LA fighter. And the reason I say that is because he actually, this is truth, in my eyes, follows more suit to his father, Creed, who was that same fighter versus more of the Philly fighter. And I'm not saying Philly fighters don't wear suits. I'm saying it's a different suit. It's a different cut. It's not as trendy, if you will. It's a little more classical. And with that, there are pieces of respect and disrespect that I do think are as simple and true as the fact that you say pop on the West Coast typically, and you say soda on the East Coast. There are different traditions and respects that you pay to women and people and others that you don't risk one place that you do in another, and vice versa.
Was he a Philly fighter or an LA fighter in the first Creed?
See, I think he was always an LA fighter. I think what he learned that helped him escape his opportunities was that he became a Philly fighter or an East Coast fighter or more of a traditional fighter. And I think that was my lesson learned in this movie was all along the Rocky movies, Rocky ultimately won because he stayed true to this. These are the steps.
I don't know if that's necessarily true either, because remember after Apollo Creed died and after Mickey died, he actually ended up being trained by Duke in the West Coast guys. So I think
but that's just it. There are these pieces where at the end of the day, though, Stallone learned and was always this East Coast fighter. Creed learned and was always a West Coast fighter, and the only way they got to learn the other people's ways or methods or how to beat them was by experiencing something different. And honestly, after the dirty fighting that Felix got his butt kicked by, I honestly thought Adonis was going to go to like a Muay Thai or kickboxing gym and learn a couple moves there, because I think that was actually the darkness I wanted out of it. I wanted Dane to take a cheap shot and Adonis to not only beat that cheap shot Noah was coming, but cut him back with his other elbow or his knee or something.
I kind of think he's more of I think he's like a Philly based with with West Coast flair. So yes, I do think he like outside of the ring, he's very much like his dad Apollo. But I think inside the ring, because he really got his like formal training in boxing actually by watching Rocky beat his dad and Rocky movies, because when you see him shadow box there, so he's following Rocky.
Or was he following Rocky or Creed in those movies?
I think he was following Rocky.
I don't know.
And then he actually gets trained by Rocky. So I think he's Philly based, but like Rocky, because I think when you watch his fights, he takes a beating like Rocky. Not like how Apollo really took beatings. Like Apollo was more of a true boxer, where I think Rocky was more of a brawler.
Oh yeah, no, Apollo. If you talk about like classic boxing, Apollo was the best of any of these people in any of these movies. He was much like Floyd Mayweather, where the guy, any boxing match Mayweather has won, he deserved. He was the better boxer. And also, one truth to this is that, and I think possibly Adonis and Creed 3 here are trying to pay respect to that, is you have to take your time to get to round 12, as Mayweather would if he needed to, and win.
Yeah, but I think he takes a beating, though, like Rocky does, to get to 12 to wear out the other boxer. And so that's why I think he's more Philly-based with LA in him.
I mean, that's like saying, hey, you from Philly, you stubborn. You're going to get your ass beat before you win. What?
But I mean, I don't know. I think it's I think it's a good question. Like, what do you guys think out there? Like, if you're watching this far into it, do you think Adonis is like a Philly-based fighter, or is he an LA-based fighter, or is he? I think he's honestly a mixture of the two.
You got to come see it with me and my kiddos. They'll let you know their opinion. And they've got some good opinions because they are part of a different generation. And it's fun to hear different perspectives. Again, I loved the movie. There was only one scene that could have elevated it for me, and it was that fighting scene.
I have mixed feelings about it. Like,
It was so artistically potential. And then I was just at the end, I was like, that's it? Like honestly, maybe a flash of red. Give me some Sin City.
I think the one thing I really kind of needed to make it like a great movie was to give me closure on Rocky. I think like my biggest thing about it is like, what happened to Rocky? Like,
where's Rocky?
Yeah, where's Rocky? So, anyways, really like, I'll have to like cut some of this down, but
if they've watched this much, though, hear us say, drink responsibly.
All right. So, any last words about Creed 3?
No, I think it was a great movie. I did enjoy and appreciate the fact that they had the whole Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy group in there with their Moet champagnes and their Hennessy cognacs and their Ardbegs and their Glenmorangis. He was driving Rolls Royces, the new Cadillac electric SUV. Great cars, very flashy, as he should be. Loved his house. These are things that make people appreciate things. But at the end of the day, I think my biggest struggle with this movie was I look at Adonis and I question, with everything that I know in my life, knowing that he's not that different in age in the movie for his life, how has he not learned more? He's been through a hell of a lot more than I have in most ways. How has he not learned more about some of these basics? And one of the best lines ever, and this is something Marissa has told me and pointed out time and time again, and Adonis's mother points it out in this movie, so it very much so was poignant, is that people will tell you exactly what they are. You just have to listen. And so often when we know somebody and they tell us something.
Duke who said that.
I think it was.
No, it was Duke.
Was it?
Yeah. It was Duke right after Felix got his ass kicked.
I thought it was.
Or right before his ass kicked.
I thought it was Adonis's mother with the letters.
Nope.
So, but Duke, if Duke's the first one to say it or the one to say it, that is 100% true. People will tell you exactly who they are.
Yeah, it's either like right when he was talking with Felix to convince him to take the fight, or after Felix got his ass kicked, but it was Duke.
Well, there it is. You can take that to the bank because that saying is absolutely true. And it's interesting if you take a minute and you just consider that, write it down, look at it in the morning, go to work, and then ask people like, who are you? What do you do? They will tell you. And if you take the time to actually listen and consider it, you can tell a lot about them.
True. All right. Well, that wraps up another episode of Scotch Hour. Thanks, everyone, for watching us on YouTube. Thank you for supporting us on Rumble as well and all the audio platforms. We do greatly appreciate all of you. Please leave some comments if you'd like to be a Patron member. There's a link down below, and let you close it out.
All right. So next week on Scotch Hour, the 10 best of Scotch Hour years 1 and 2, our favorite 10 scotches, our favorite 10 topics, and the big one, our favorite 10 restaurants. So really looking back at 104 different experiences and which were the 10 best. And the scotch to go along with this, episode 2 was the Oban Night's Watch. We do not have a new Oban to try at this time. Oban does not open their portfolio and make them as readily available as some others. So we are going to go with the Dalmore 12 Sherry Cask.
All right. Looking forward to that.
Hell yeah. All right. Remember, life is great.
Drink responsibly.
And
Scotchman!
Cheers.
We hope you enjoyed this evening's episode of Scotch Hour. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you have not done so already, please become a Patron member, with memberships starting as low as $1 a month. Thank you, and hopefully you have a wonderful evening.